All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning, I'm Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is Sarabjit Kaur. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for fulfilling Bapu's dream of rural development and self-reliant villages. Prime Minister to dedicate building of Rashtriya Raksha University to the nation near Gandhinagar in Gujarat this morning, to also declare open 11th Khel Mahakumbh at Ahmedabad in the evening. Defence Ministry identifies 18 platforms including lightweight tanks for industry-led design and development under various routes. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India's digital economy will see exponential growth to $800 billion by 2030. RBI stops Paytm Payments Bank from onboarding new customers. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann to be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Punjab on the 16th of this month. 4 terrorists killed in separate encounters with security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Embassy in Moscow says there is no security reasons for Indian students to leave Russia at present. Lakshya Sen enters semi-final of the German Open Badminton. And in cricket, second test between India and Sri Lanka to begin today in Bengaluru. As we start the bulletin, we appeal to our listeners to stay safe from COVID-19 by following these 4 simple steps. Get fully vaccinated, wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for fulfilling Mahatma Gandhi's dream of rural development and self-reliant villages. The Prime Minister was addressing the Gujarat Mahapanchayat Sammelan at the GMDC ground in Ahmedabad yesterday.
ये बापू की धरती है, ये सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल की धरती है और बापू ने हमेशा ग्रामीण विकास की बात, आत्मनिर्भर गांव की बात, सशक्त और समर्थ गांव की बात सदा सर्वदा कही है और इसलिए जब आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं तो पूज्य बापू के सपनों के हम सब एक प्रकार से प्रतिबद्ध हैं कि आजादी के जंग में जो सपने देख करके लोगों ने अपने आप को आहूत किया, अपनी जवानी खपा दी, हमें उन सपनों को साकार करना चाहिए.
Mr. Modi said the Panchayati Raj system is very important to achieve Bapu's dream of Gram Swarajya.
ग्राम स्वराज का सपना साकार करने के लिए पंचायती राज व्यवस्था अपने आप में एक महत्वपूर्ण व्यवस्था है और उस व्यवस्था को प्राण देने का काम, दिशा देने का काम, परिवर्तन लाने का निरंतर प्रयास करने का काम, उसे गति देने का काम आप सभी जनप्रतिनिधि कर रहे हैं, पंच सरपंच कर रहे हैं और मुझे विश्वास है कि पूज्य बापू के सपनों को पूरा करते हुए गुजरात की पंचायत राज व्यवस्था, गुजरात की ग्रामीण जीवन की व्यवस्थाएं देश के लिए एक सीमा चूर्ण रूप बनेगी, प्रेरक बनेगी, ऐसा मेरा पूरा विश्वास है.
The Prime Minister said Gujarat is at the forefront in the country in women representation in the Panchayati Raj system. Mr. Modi also praised the villagers of the country for showing awareness against the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister appealed to the Panchayat members to work for the upliftment of the villagers with a series of small initiatives. He appealed to the villagers and the Panchayat members to work for the upliftment of village schools, water conservation, natural farming and tree plantation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate to the nation the building of Rashtriya Raksha University near Gandhinagar in Gujarat this morning. He will also attend the first convocation ceremony of RRU Gandhinagar as a chief guest and deliver a convocation address. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will also deliver a presidential address on this occasion. Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate 11th Khel Mahakumbh, a state-level sports program at Sardar Patel Stadium in Ahmedabad this evening. Mr. Modi will also announce the new sports policy of Gujarat government on this occasion. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
Rashtriya Raksha University, an institution of national importance, is established by the Indian Parliament Act. The university aims to become an academic, research, training ecosystem for national security and police. Its endeavors focus on highly professional national security, police education, research and training through its qualified civilian and security faculty. A total 1,090 students will receive their degrees, out of which 13 students will get their honorary doctorate degrees, as well as 38 students will be awarded gold medal. In the evening, Mr. Modi will inaugurate Khel Mahakumbh, a state-level sports program at Sardar Patel Stadium in Ahmedabad. More than 47 lakh people have registered for the state-level sports event. Different games will be organized at over 500 venues across the state during this Khel Mahakumbh. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
Earlier yesterday, Prime Minister met his mother, Hiraba, at her Gandhinagar residence and took her blessings.
Government has identified 18 major platforms for industry-led design and development in defence sector under various routes. The Defence Ministry said this is in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision on Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan and in sync with the announcement in the Union Budget 2022-23 that allocated 25% of defence R&D budget for industry-led research and development. Under the Make One category, 14 projects have been identified for research and development purpose. They include hypersonic glide vehicle, directed energy weapons, naval shipborne unmanned aerial system, lightweight tank and plug-and-play housing and infrastructure for soldiers posted at extreme altitudes. Under the Defence Acquisition Procedure 2020, Make category aims to achieve self-reliance by involving greater participation of Indian industries. For projects under Make One subcategory, the Ministry of Defence will provide financial support up to 70% of the total cost of prototype development. The Government of India has taken a serious view and ordered a high-level court of inquiry into the accidental firing of a missile. The Ministry of Defence in a statement said, on the 9th of March, in the course of a routine maintenance, a technical malfunction led to the accidental firing of a missile. The ministry said it has learned that the missile landed in an area of Pakistan. It added, while the incident is deeply regrettable, it is also a matter of relief that there has been no loss of life due to the incident.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that India's digital economy is expected to witness exponential growth to $800 billion by 2030 on the back of rising internet penetration and increasing income. She said India has over 6,300 fintechs, of which 28% are into investment technology, 27% into payments, 16% into lending, and 9% into banking infrastructure, while over 20% are into other fields. Addressing the IIT Bombay Alumni Association virtually, Ms. Sitharaman said that the combined valuation of India's fintech industry is set to surge to $150 billion in the next 3 years. Finance Minister said that majority of the startup unicorns are from fintech sectors and that the easy availability of funding has helped them grow. The Commerce and Industry Ministry has said India-Canada will relaunch the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement negotiations to unlock the full potential of bilateral trade. India and Canada held the 5th Ministerial Dialogue on Trade and Investment yesterday. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion and International Trade of Canada, Mary N., co-chaired the meeting. A range of other bilateral trade and investment issues were discussed during the meeting. The ministers emphasized that the trade agreement would help in expanding bilateral trade in goods and services through unlocking the potential across sectors.
The Reserve Bank has barred Paytm Payments Bank from opening new accounts with immediate effect. RBI has also directed Paytm Payments Bank to appoint an IT audit firm to conduct a comprehensive audit of its IT system. In a statement, RBI said, onboarding of new customers will be subject to specific permission to be granted by it after reviewing report of the IT auditors. This action is based on certain material supervisory concerns observed in the bank, RBI said. Paytm Payments Bank was incorporated in August 2016 and formally began its operations in May 2017. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann will be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Punjab on the 16th of this month. The oath-taking ceremony will be held in Khatkar Kalan village in Nawashahar district, the ancestral village of iconic freedom fighter Bhagat Singh. Mr. Mann met the party's national convener and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal yesterday and invited him to attend the oath-taking ceremony. Aam Aadmi Party has intensified the preparations for government formation in Punjab after a landslide victory in the assembly elections.
The Goa cabinet yesterday passed a resolution to dissolve the state assembly. Informing this, Chief Minister Pramod Sawant said the resolution will be sent to governor on Monday, after which assembly will be dissolved and a meeting of fresh legislators would be held. More from a correspondent.
The tenure of the present assembly concludes on 15th March. Chief Minister Pramod Sawant said a meeting of newly elected legislators of BJP will be held after dissolution of assembly to elect party leader. Mr. Sawant said central observers will be coming to Goa to hold discussion on government formation. He said swearing in ceremony of new government will be decided by the central observers. 3 independent MLAs have extended support to BJP. Meanwhile, senior leader of Maharashtrawadi Gomantak Party, Sudin Dhavlikar, said the party has extended unconditional support to BJP. MJP got 2 seats in this election. Krishna Kumar Lal, AIR News, Panji, Goa.
Senior BJP leader and Union Minister Smriti Irani yesterday hit out at Arvind Kejriwal-led Delhi government for not releasing the funds worth 13,000 crore rupees to the 3 municipal corporations of Delhi, which is due from the last 7 years. Addressing media in New Delhi, Mrs. Irani alleged that the AAP government has stopped the fund with an intention not to allow the corporations to carry out development works in their jurisdiction.
The centre has released over 2,221 crore rupees to Bihar, Karnataka and West Bengal for providing grants to the rural local bodies. Over 1,112 crore rupees have been released to Bihar, over 473 crore to Karnataka and over 634 crore rupees to West Bengal. This grant in aid is the second installment of tied grants to the state of Bihar and untied grant to the states of Karnataka and West Bengal of the year 2021-22. According to 15th Finance Commission recommendations, tied grants are released to rural local bodies on the recommendations of the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation for making improvements on sanitation and maintenance of open defecation-free status and supply of drinking water, rainwater harvesting and water cycling. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for fulfilling Bapu's dream of rural development and self-reliant villages. Prime Minister to dedicate building of Rashtriya Raksha University to the nation near Gandhinagar in Gujarat this morning, to also declare open 11th Khel Mahakumbh at Ahmedabad in the evening. Defence Ministry identifies 18 platforms, including lightweight tanks, for industry-led design and development under various routes. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India's digital economy will see exponential growth to $800 billion by 2030. RBI stops Paytm Payments Bank from onboarding new customers. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann to be sworn in as Chief Minister of Punjab on 16th of this month. 4 terrorists killed in separate encounters with security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Embassy in Moscow says there is no security reasons for Indian students to leave Russia at present. Lakshya Sen enters semi-final of German Open Badminton. And in cricket, second test between India and Sri Lanka to begin today in Bengaluru. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242 4242।
Welcome back. You're listening to the morning news. In Jammu and Kashmir, 4 terrorists were killed in 3 separate overnight operations by security forces. 2 terrorists of Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed were killed after an encounter broke out in Chiwa Kalan area of Pulwama. And the terrorist linked to the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba LET was killed after an encounter broke out in the search area of Ganderbal district. Police said 1 LET terrorist was killed in an encounter in Nichama, Rajwar area of Handwara. We spoke to DGP Dilbag Singh about the encounters.
पिछली रात पुलिस और सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस ने कश्मीर के अलग अलग एरियाज के अंदर अलग अलग जगह पे ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किए थे, जिसमें 3 ऑपरेशन जो है वो एनकाउंटर्स में तब्दील हुए। एक ऑपरेशन पुलवामा चिवाकला में हुआ, जिसमें जैश ए मोहम्मद के 2 दहशतगर्द मारे गए। दूसरा ऑपरेशन गांदरबल में सर्च गांव में हुआ, जिसमें 1 दहशतगर्द मारा गया। और तीसरा ऑपरेशन हंदवारा के राजवार फॉरेस्ट में हुआ, जिसमें 1 दहशतगर्द मारा गया। कुल मिला के पिछली रात 3 एनकाउंटर्स के अंदर 4 दहशतगर्द न्यूट्रलाइज किए गए और बड़ी तादाद में असला और अम्यूनिशन उनसे पकड़ा गया। ये दहशतगर्द अलग अलग जगहों पे दहशतगर्दी की कार्रवाइयों में शामिल थे।
Indian Embassy in Moscow has assured students that there is no security reasons for them to leave Russia at present. The embassy said it is in regular contact with relevant authorities with respect to the safety and security of the Indian nationals, including students. The response came after the Indian Embassy received messages from Indian students studying in Russian universities seeking advice on their continued stay in the country. In the guidelines for Indian students studying in Russia, the embassy said it would like to reassure all students that India sees no security reasons for students to leave at present.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Long live! Long live! Long live!
12th March is the historic day when Gandhiji started his famous Dandi March in 1930. The 2040 March from March 12th to April the 5th, 1930 marked the inauguration of the civil disobedience movement. The Dandi March was the most significant organized movement against the British Raj after the non-cooperation movement of the 1920s.
There was great excitement in Ahmedabad on the eve of the march. A large crowd gathered around Sabarmati Ashram and stayed through the night. Gandhiji gathered a group of 78 men.
There were 31 marchers from Gujarat, 13 from Maharashtra, and others from the United Provinces, Kerala, Punjab and Sindh, with Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka, Bengal, Bihar and Orissa sending one each. The diversity was social as well as geographical. From among the chosen marchers, there were many students and khadi workers. Several were the so-called untouchables, a few Muslims and one Christian.
They started out at 6:30 a.m. amidst a large group of people, cheering them all along with flowers and greetings. On their way, they stopped at a number of villages where Gandhi addressed large crowds. Gandhi reached Dandi village on April the 5th. Next day, on the 6th of April, he proceeded to the sea, where he picked up lumps of natural salt lying in a small pit.
Man needs salt as he needs air and water. This salt comes from the Indian Ocean. Let every Indian claim it as his right.
While picking up the salt, Gandhiji said,
With this, I'm shaking the foundations of the British Empire. My advice is that the workers should everywhere manufacture salt to make use of it and to instruct the villagers to do so.
The act was symbolic but was hugely covered by the press and was the beginning of several other acts of civil disobedience in other parts of India.
The Dandi March and its effect shook up the British government. We also remember the nationalist leader and the first Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Yashwantrao Chauhan, who was born on the 12th of March 1913 in Sangli district of Maharashtra. As a schoolboy in Karad, he was fined for his participation in the non-cooperation movement. In 1932, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for hoisting the Indian flag in Satara. During this period, he came in contact with Swami Ramanand Bharti, Dholappa Bhaurao, Appa Sahib and Govind Kruparam.
During his college years, Chauhan was involved in many social activities and was closely associated with the Congress party and its leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel and Keshav Rao Jade. Chauhan was one of the delegates at the Bombay session of the Indian National Congress in 1942 that gave the call for Quit India. He spent around 2 years in jail for his participation in the Quit India movement.
Post-independence, Yashwantrao Chauhan was the first Chief Minister of the undivided state of Bombay. When the two new states of Gujarat and Maharashtra were created in 1960, Chauhan became the Chief Minister of the new state of Maharashtra. He took several steps to develop the state. He passed the Cooperative Societies Act and brought industries to backward areas, thus laying the stepping stones for a modern, industrialized state.
Yashwantrao Chauhan held many important portfolios in the central government. He served as the Minister of Defence, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Finance and External Affairs Minister.
The elimination of foreign military bases from and preservation of peace in the Indian Ocean. This is not so for any reasons of expediency, but of principle and deep conviction. India's policy on the Indian Ocean is a logical and natural outcome of its policy of peaceful coexistence and non-alignment.
He also served as the 5th Deputy Prime Minister of India from July 1979 till January 1980.
Yashwantrao Chauhan died of a heart attack on the 25th of November 1984 in Delhi. AIR pays tribute to the great leader.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday chaired a meeting of the Sri Somnath Trust and discussed the ongoing infrastructure upgradation measures which will benefit pilgrims and tourists. In a series of tweets, Mr. Modi said the trust has made many efforts to make Somnath an Adarsh Tirath which will draw people from all over. He added that the members of the trust shared their valuable inputs on how we can effectively cater to the needs of the future. Efforts of the trust during COVID-19 and Cyclone Taukte were also lauded. The Prime Minister said it was great that veteran BJP leader L.K. Advani participated in the meeting via video conferencing.
Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Ministry has said that more than 40,000 farmers across the country benefited from the Pusa Krisi Vigyan Mela held from the 9th to 11th of this month. It said the 41st Innovative Awards have been given to farmers during the festival, including 36 awards in the valedictory session on its concluding day. The Mela has been organized by the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, IARI, on the theme Self-Reliant Farmer with Technical Knowledge in New Delhi. The Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE, has released the date sheet of the second term board examination for classes 10th and 12th. In a circular issued yesterday, CBSE has informed that the board exam will start from the 26th of next month and will conclude on the 15th of June this year. Keeping in view the learning losses by the students during the pandemic, the board has given more gap. Other competitive examinations, including JEE Main, have been taken care of while preparing the date sheet.
The second cricket test between India and Sri Lanka will begin today in Bengaluru. Karnataka State Cricket Association said that the Chinnaswamy Stadium will have full capacity crowd for the day-night test to be played with the pink ball. The match marks the first time that the Chinnaswamy Stadium will host an international match since the third ODI between India and Australia in January 2020. A desk report.
There is an air of excitement and expectancy at the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium, Bengaluru. The venue is being decked up to host its maiden day-night test match starting today. India will be strong favourites to stay unbeaten in pink ball tests at home as new captain Rohit Sharma eyes a clean sweep of Sri Lanka series. The hosts thrash Sri Lanka in Mohali to lead the two-test series 1-0 and the visitors need to quickly get their act together under the lights in Bengaluru. India were the last of the big test teams to play a 5-day game under lights, seeing off Bangladesh in 2019 in just over 2 days in Kolkata. But at the Adelaide Oval in December 2020, Australia bowled out the Kohli-led side for 36, India's lowest test total ever. The team bounced back in a floodlit test when they thrashed England in 2 days at the world's biggest cricket stadium in Ahmedabad in February last year. India will be expected to beat Sri Lanka again, but ace spinner Ravichandran Ashwin warned that day-night tests can be unpredictable. Ravi Kumar, AIR News.
In the ICC Women's World Cup cricket, the 10th match of the tournament is underway between India and a spirited West Indies at the Seddon Park, Hamilton. The Indian women won the toss and opted to bat first. In German Open badminton, India's Lakshya Sen has entered the semi-final. In the quarter-final match yesterday evening, Lakshya Sen beat HS Pranoy 21-15, 21-16. Lakshya Sen will now face Victor Alexen of Denmark in the semi-final. Victor Alexen entered the semi-final beating Kidambi Srikanth in a thrilling encounter.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. Srinagar will have partly cloudy sky, temperature hover between 5 and 18 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have mainly clear sky, the minimum temperature was 12 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 27 degrees. Leh is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The national capital Delhi is likely to have strong surface winds during the daytime. The temperature will vary between 15 and 31 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Chennai is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Kolkata will also have partly cloudy sky. Bengaluru will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature was 19 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 32 degrees. And Guwahati will have mainly clear sky. The temperature will hover between 17 and 36 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. BJP in huddle to elect CMs in Goa, Uttarakhand, informs the Pioneer. Maan to take oath as Punjab CM on 16th March at Bhagat Singh's village, notes the Statesman. Modi sounds poll bugle in Gujarat with grand roadshow, reports the Asian Age. In UP, 97% of Congress candidates, 72% of BSPs lost their deposits, leads the Times of India. G3 meets to discuss Congress debacle, informs the Hindu. India regrets accidental firing of missile into Pakistan, orders probe, says the Pioneer. India and China hold 15th round of talks to resolve LAC dispute, reports the Asian Age. And finally, the Tribune quotes Election Commission as saying 8 lakh voters in 5 states opted for Nota, none of the above option, highest being Goa, 1.12%.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for fulfilling Bapu's dream of rural development and self-reliant villages. Prime Minister to dedicate building of Rashtriya Raksha University to the nation near Gandhinagar in Gujarat this morning, to also declare open 11th Khel Mahakumbh at Ahmedabad in the evening. Defence Ministry identifies 18 platforms including lightweight tanks for industry-led design and development under various routes. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India's digital economy will see exponential growth to $800 billion by 2030. RBI stops Paytm Payments Bank from onboarding new customers. Aam Aadmi Party leader Bhagwant Mann to be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Punjab on the 16th of this month. 4 terrorists killed in separate encounters with security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Embassy in Moscow says there is no security reasons for Indian students to leave Russia at present. Lakshya Sen enters semi-final of the German Open Badminton. And in cricket, second test between India and Sri Lanka to begin today in Bengaluru. And for details of the stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.